Well, this is our very last science and social studies video, and I decided to end with your science book, page D14, so getting closer to the back. And this is a lesson on the water cycle, and I'm going to get right into it. I just think it's a cool concept, and there's a kind of a fun activity that you can do easily at home with this. So here we go. Get ready. Can you see all of the Golden Gate Bridge? Where do you think the fog that hides it came from? Fog is a cloud that forms near the ground. What are clouds made of? That's the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Pops Bridge, the story we read earlier this year, was about the Golden Gate Bridge. Here's the activity I think you should consider doing. How do raindrops form? You take a jar and you're putting some warm water in it, 1/4. There's a fraction word. You're going to need some plastic wrap that you put over the top and close it tightly with a rubber band. You're going to need something like a marble that you're setting on top, and then you're going to get some ice. So you're going to need these things ahead of time before you try it. You've made a model of the earth. It says the warm water inside represents a lake, and the air above it represents the air around earth. And it says carefully watch the bottom of the plastic wrap. So that means underneath, the inside part that's inside. And then record your observations. What did you see inside the jar? Where did the water come from to make the raindrops? Do you think water might go into the air faster during the day or night? So think about that and read this over carefully. Have a grown-up help you get those steps correctly. And you can let me know anytime. Maybe you'll do it next week or something and let me know how it went. All right, the main idea is that the water cycle is the path that water follows on Earth. Did you know that all the water we have on Earth right now is all the water we'll ever have? It travels, it can get dirty, it can get cleaned again, it can take on different forms. So that's just my 2 cents, adding that in as we read this. All right, where does water go? Have you ever seen tiny droplets of water on a bathroom mirror? Where did the droplets come from? Are you surprised to learn that they came from the air? Everything around you is made up of something called matter. Air, water, and this book are all made of matter. Matter can be found in 3 different forms: solid, liquid, and gas. A solid is a form of matter that has a definite shape and takes up a definite amount of space. A book is an example of a solid. A liquid takes up a definite amount of space, but it does not have a definite shape. A liquid takes the shape of its container. This pitcher is the container, but the juice inside is the liquid, right? So you put the liquid into a solid container. A gas has no definite size or shape. It spreads out to fill the container that holds it. Think of a balloon. The air inside the balloon spreads out to fill the entire balloon. So when you blow air into it, it stretches out the latex balloon, but what's inside of it, air, doesn't really have its own shape. And you can fill it with your own air, but you can also fill balloons with helium, which is a gas, and it's lighter than oxygen, which is why it floats away. All right, water is a type of matter that can be a solid, a liquid, or a gas. How can you change the form of matter? After it rains, there are puddles in the street. The next day, they are gone. Where did the water go? The water went into the air above. When this happens, the water changes. It changes from a liquid into a gas. This gas is water vapor. The changing of a liquid into a gas is called evaporation. Have you ever seen water droplets on the inside of a window? These water droplets did not come from rain. They came from the air itself. When water vapor in the air cools, it changes back into liquid water. The change of a gas into a liquid is called condensation. Look at the water droplets on the spider web. Sometimes if you take a walk early in the morning and there's dew on the grass, you'll also see wet spider webs. It makes them easier to see. And where might the water in this lake go? Love this diagram. What is the water cycle? Animals and plants use water every day to survive. Where do they get the water they need? They get the water from one or more parts of the water cycle. The water cycle is the never-ending path water takes between Earth and the atmosphere. So in the water cycle, it doesn't even really matter where you start. I'm going to start with water on a lake or a river or an ocean. Water evaporates. The sun heats the water in the oceans and on land. The water changes from a liquid into a vapor, and then those blue arrows are showing it. You don't even see it, it's invisible, but vapor is going up from the water into the air. Water condenses. As water vapor rises into the air, it cools. The cooled water vapor changes back into liquid water drops. The liquid water drops form clouds. So when you look up at clouds, it's not cotton candy, it isn't cotton balls, it's water droplets. Going on, I'm going to read up here first, then we'll look at the rest of the diagram. So water evaporates into the air, condenses into clouds, and returns to Earth as precipitation. Precipitation is water that returns to Earth from the atmosphere. It can be in the form of rain, snow, sleet, hail. Anything that's falling from the sky as liquid or ice, snow, that is precipitation. Different seasons bring different kinds of precipitation. So those clouds get heavy enough, and at some point the water droplets are going to fall back to Earth. So when enough water has condensed into clouds, the water falls to Earth as precipitation. Precipitation can be in the form of rain, snow, sleet, or hail. The form of precipitation depends mainly on temperature. Water on the ground. Some precipitation flows downhill into lakes, rivers, and oceans. Some falls directly into these bodies of water. So, if it's raining and then the water is going to run downward, it may end up in a downward place like a lake, a lower spot. That's where it's going to flow to. You'll see in the springtime sometimes when it's been raining a lot and the snow is melting. In Wisconsin, there are extra little creeks and things that are running in the hills, and they're running because that water's not going to sit on the top of a hill. It's going to run down and it's going to find a low place to go. Some precipitation will soak into the ground. This water is called groundwater. That's where we get our drinking water. There's water under the ground. We dig a well and we pump the water up to the surface into our homes and buildings so that we can use it for our sinks and showers and toilets and things. So I think the water cycle is fascinating. So after it's into the ground, of course, it's there. We pump it up, we reuse it. And like I said at the beginning, it's just the water cycle just never ends. It just water keeps moving. Why does it matter? Water is one of our most important resources. You need to drink fresh water every day. Plants and animals need water too. The water cycle is nature's way of recycling. The continuous movement of water through the water cycle provides us with fresh, clean water. And I feel that this lesson also ties back into our responsibility as citizens. That's a social studies lesson, to try to keep our water pure and clean, not to do things that make our water dirty or unsafe or toxic, which is poisonous, by putting things into the water that are dangerous for us. So there's a lot to think about there, and it is important because water is essential, right? We all need water. Plants and animals need water. So there's a lot here. You could explore more, and I will try to include an extra link or two for you about the water cycle, just because I think it's really cool. If you had been with me in class, we would have drawn our own versions of the water cycle, and we would have spent some time really talking about the words evaporation, condensation, precipitation. They're important words. Practice reading those and being able to say them correctly. They're kind of a mouthful. So good stuff.